Yeah, so we're just going to come to sitting on the floor. Maybe sit in a diamond so that there's not too much tension in the hip flexors. And we'll just gently move we'll do the seesaw. So you've got the mastoid process behind the ear, the hinge of the jaw. So one side is going up, the other side is going down. And then alternate. So you can be really stiff through here and not even notice until you try your stretching. Make sure you're not turning your nose towards your shoulder. You're just pivoting the head at the top of the spine. So it's a little bit like a salamander, except we're not holding. So you're really moving those top two vertebrae in your neck. Okay, so keep right ear to right shoulder, and we'll look down at our right shoulder. So we'll do the salamander. So we're just staying in position now so that we really get a chance to stretch the muscles around C1 and C2. So when these muscles are tight, they move the vertebra forward and into rotation, which stretches and puts pressure on the spinal cord and the cranial nerves. So you're just looking for that nice release. You want to feel the stretch in the eyes as well. As soon as you get the release, you're looking up and away. So for me, it's 2 o'clock. So right ear to right shoulder, you'll be looking up at 2. Sounds a bit echoing here without my sofa. So when you feel that you've had your release, just gently support your head to come out of it. Do some nose circles. Then when you're ready, you're going to take your left ear to your left shoulder without turning your nose towards the shoulder. So you're just tipping and you're looking down at your left shoulder. So maybe as you're doing these releases over the weeks and the months, you're getting more and more expert at being able to identify the side that is most blocked and out of balance. So for me, I can definitely feel this side is the side. So it's going to be this side here. And of course, if these cranial nerves are affected, then the neck muscles will be affected as well. And there's my nice deep breath. So once you get your release, you're looking up to what would be 10 o'clock. And there's my breath. So you often notice on the block side that your release is stronger and it comes a little bit quicker. The other side is not so out of balance, so it doesn't need the adjustment so much. So when you've finished, you're going to put your hand under your head, gently bring your head back into center, do your nose circles just to release these side neck muscles. Maybe a few shrugs. So let's just try a rotation. So think very long in the neck, as if you're balancing a book on the head, and just turn your head to look to one side. Come back into center, turn your head to look the other side. So ideally, your nose is lining up somewhere near the center of the shoulder. Try not to hunch your shoulders as you do this. So sometimes people lift their shoulders to try and create a little bit more movement, but it's the wrong sort of movement. Come back into center. A few shrugs, a few rolls. So the pillow's there if you need it. I don't need the pillow. If you've got your roller, just put it out of the way because they fall over and if they hit you, they're going to hurt. So we're coming down into lying down. I'll get my instructions here so I don't go off track too much. So let's move that. So do you need a pillow or not? The pillow is only if your head is hanging like this towards the floor. So if you don't reach the floor in a natural, comfortable way, then the pillow's there, and you either have a small pillow or a big pillow. If the back of the skull is on the floor, you're in that nice, perfect neutral neck. You don't need a pillow. So just put your hands on your pelvis. So if you've got a stiff and a tight back, the first thing you start to do is just a little bit of orientation with your pelvis. So just drop your belly button towards the floor and let you could be focusing on your pubic bone or you could be focusing on your tailbone, whichever makes more sense to you. So that's a posterior tilt. Your belly button is moving to the back of the body. Then come back to level, neutral, and then lift your belly button towards the ceiling and drop your pubic bone or your tailbone. So that's an anterior tilt, belly button to the front. Come back into neutral. So belly button down. I'm going to say tailbone tucking under and moving upwards. Just assess how tight you feel in your back. Come back to neutral. And then let your belly button rise and let your tailbone drop. So it's really good to do the two extremes because it shows you after a few where neutral is. So neutral's in the middle, in relaxed, belly button down, tailbone tucked under and lifting. So you start to connect with those long lumbosacral muscles, fascia. Come back into neutral, anterior tilt, belly button up. Sometimes that can be a little bit uncomfortable. Come back into level. So again, belly button down, tucking under. Come back into neutral. Belly button up, tailbone down. Come back into neutral. So these exercises are about dissociation. You're trying to move your pelvis, but not your legs. You're disassociating your pelvis from your femurs. So now keep your femurs, your leg bones, pointing towards the ceiling. See if you can drop your right ASIS, the front of your pelvis, down towards the floor, and your left ASIS glides upwards to wherever you feel comfortable. Come back into neutral, and then left ASIS down, right ASIS up. So you're a little bit like a seesaw, and your focus is trying to keep your femurs really still. And after you've got that under control, your second focus is how does it feel in the sacral fascia, the SI joints, the back of the pelvis. So just find your comfortable range. The other thing you might notice while you're doing this is the head of the femurs, the leg bones, moving around inside the hip socket. So it's really good for hip mobility, flexibility. Come back into a neutral pelvis. So now this next one, I always find you have to be a little bit careful, especially if you've got back issues, is to glide your right ASIS down towards your right ankle and let your left ASIS glide up towards your left shoulder. So that gives you a very strong stretch through the lumbosacral spine and through the long muscles of your back. Come back to neutral and then glide your left ASIS down towards your left ankle. My back doesn't like this side so much. Right ASIS up towards right shoulder. So if you've got SI joint dysfunction, one side might be quite locked up and the other side might be quite unhappy. So you really need to feel your way into this gently. Right ASIS downwards towards right ankle, left ASIS up to left shoulder. I think 60% range, and that way you're going to stretch these very tight locked up muscles without aggravating them. Come back into neutral, left ASIS down towards left ankle, right ASIS up to right shoulder. So for me, 60% range is really on the border of what my body will let me do. If I try to push it more than that, I might strain my back or create a little bit of conflict. So you've got to be gentle when you find that there's real stiffness there. One more time, right ASIS down to right ankle, left ASIS up towards left shoulder. Come back into center. Last time, left ASIS down towards left ankle, right ASIS up to right shoulder. So come back to neutral. So for me there, I felt that I stretched things that were very tight, but it was sort of borderline making something a little bit tighter, a little bit worse. So you've always got to be really mindful of what you're doing. Just drop your belly button into the floor. Bring one knee in, and then bring the other knee in, and just give yourself a little bit of a stretch. And the other thing, of course, is if you're doing something and you can feel it's making something worse, then stop straight away and stop doing that movement. Hold the shins and pull the shins up towards the rib cage. Float your head. So when I do this, I can feel I'm very tight in the low rib cage at the back. Take a breath. So you're trying to identify areas of tightness. Take the head down, take the feet down, 1 and 2. So just take, you've got your feet at hip space, just take your right foot down a little bit. So the heel of your right foot lines up with the toes of the left foot, but with the space of the pelvis, the hips in between, and you're going to push your feet into the mat. You're going to pull up through the right heel, and you're going to push down and away through the left heel. Hold your pelvis. Think of your pelvis as 2 wheels, and you're going to feel the right wheel rolling towards the back and your left wheel rolling towards the front. And then relax. We'll do that again. You're going to pull up through the right heel on the floor, push down through the left heel on the floor, feel the right wheel rotating backwards and the left wheel rotating forward, and relax. You do it for about 3 seconds. Now do it one more time and ask yourself on the third one, is this making my back feel better or is it making it worse? And if it's worse, you stop straight away. So again, right heel pulls up, left heel pushes down, the right wheel rolls backwards, the left wheel of the pelvis rolls forwards. 1, 2, 3, and relax. So I could feel on that last one, this was making my tight back and pelvis feel worse. So bring your feet back to hip space. Take your left foot down, so you've got your left heel in line with the toes of the right foot, but with the space of the legs, the pelvis in between, so your hip space, hands at the pelvis. And now you do the opposite. You press your feet into the floor, you pull your left heel upwards, your right heel pushes downwards. So now the left wheel of your pelvis is rotating backwards, your right side is rolling forward. 1, 2, 3. I can feel on mine that feels better on even the first one. If you can locate on any of these that it's making it worse, you just go back to the other side, do it the other way. So again, left heel up, right heel pushes down, the left half of your pelvis rolls backwards, your right side pelvis rolls forward. 1, 2, 3. And I can feel with each one it feels better. So you're only going to do it 5 times, but you're going to do it 5 times to the side that feels better. So left heel up, right heel down. So you feel the left side of your pelvis rolling backwards, right side rolling forward. If, on a good day when your back is fine, relaxing, you might feel fine on both sides, and you could do 5 on one side, 5 on the other. But if your back is sore, you should be able to locate one side is a little bit more unhappy than the other. One direction works, the other one doesn't. So again, left heel up, or if you feel you need to go back to the other side, you do left heel up, right heel down. 1, 2, 3, relaxing. One more time. So you do it 5 times. So left heel up, right heel down. You get that counter rotation of the 2 halves of your pelvis, which releases stress in your sacroiliac joint. 1, 2, 3, and relaxing. Let your belly button drop and bring your knees in one at a time and just give yourself a little squeeze. So another really good one to do is if you've got a roller, rollers are great for this. Just put the roller between sort of mid-thighs. Have your feet fairly close. Tummy muscles are not active, they're relaxed. Bottom muscles are relaxed. And you're just going to do an inner thigh squeeze on the roller until you can feel the pressure in the sacroiliac joints at the back of the pelvis. So you're squeezing really firmly, 1, 2, 3, and relax. And again, squeeze, 1, 2, 3, relax. If there's any jamming in those joints, this is going to just open out those joints a little bit. Squeeze, 1, 2, 3, relaxing. One more time, squeezing, 1, 2, 3, and relaxing. So we'll just do two or three moves that you can do to release your sacroiliac joints. So we're going to put our hands on our pelvis, have our feet at hip space, and just let our knees roll to the left side without the pelvis moving. You get a little bit of a stretch in your lower abs, you come back through center, and then let your knees roll to the right side without the pelvis moving. So you're looking at this left side of your pelvis so it doesn't lift. So what this exercise immediately makes you realize is that the aim of the movement is to not move your pelvis, is to disassociate the leg movement from your pelvis. Sometimes you disassociate the pelvis from the legs. This one is disassociating the legs from the pelvis. You're just finding what your range is. Legs are heavy, so you can feel transversus abdominis, those low stomach muscles working. Come back through center. One more time, knees to the right, keep the pelvis perfectly still. Come back through center, knees to the left. Come back into center. Bring your feet and knees together. Keep your pelvis perfectly still. You've got that little bit of a hollow in the back, so you're neutral spine. And you're going to just let your right knee fall out to the side, keeping the contact of your feet together. And then really strongly pull up through the pelvic floor, pull up under the ribs with those lower abs, with the upper abs. Feel like your waist is drawing in and draw that knee back in. So really effective exercise. And because you're in neutral spine, neutral pelvis, your spine will be really safe. So left knee falls out. Think about 50% abs to fall out. So pelvic floor, belly button to back of ribs. And then think 100% abs to draw the knee back up. You can also think inner thigh squeeze. So as the right knee falls out, you're using the muscles at the back of your pelvis. As you tighten your powerhouse, bring the knee back in, you're using your powerhouse, your abs, glutes. So left knee falls out. So you can either hold the pelvis with the hands and then strong abs to come back in, or you can put your thumbs on the rib cage, fingers on the ASIS, and just keep those 4 points perfectly still. Right knee falls out. And pulling up through the lift, belly button to the back of the ribs. Take inner thigh squeeze. So what you should be feeling is a little bit achy in the back of the pelvis, in the low back muscles. So working hard. One more. Left knee falls out. Keep the bones in the body nice and still. Bones of the box, the torso. Pulling up through the lift, belly button to the back of the ribs. Inner thigh squeeze. Draw the knees back in. So very effective, but very safe. Drop the belly button down, bring your knees in one at a time, and you notice that the back body was working quite hard in that exercise. Pull your shins to your ribs, bring your head into your knees. So just assess the tightness of the long muscles of your back that run from the skull to the pelvis. And then gently down with the head. Take the feet down one at a time. So again, feet together, level pelvis, hollow in the small of the back. So now, pulling up through the pelvic floor, belly button to the back of the ribs, just open. You might prefer to do this on your toes, keep your toes touching. Open both knees, so you're using the back of the pelvis on both sides, and then pull up through the pelvic floor, belly button to the back of the ribs, inner thigh squeeze, deeply contract to draw the thighs together. So again, you're opening 50% abs. And then you're deeply imprinting through the pelvic floor, upper abs, tightening the waist, and again, opening. So on the close, it really helps to think inner thigh squeeze, pelvic floor, belly button to the back of the ribs. So you start at the bottom of the powerhouse and you work all the way up to the diaphragm at the top. So you're opening. The back of the muscles are contracting, the back of the pelvis are contracting to open, and then inner thigh squeeze, pelvic floor, belly button to the back of the ribs. Draw your waist in. So if you do it slowly and mindfully, you could use a lot more muscles without anyone seeing the difference. You can feel the difference. Opening the knees, so that's your rotators, and then inner thigh squeeze, pelvic floor, belly button to the back of the ribs. Draw your waist in like a corset tightening. And then just drop the heels, belly button down, and just give the back body, so I can feel my mid back as well as my rotators working there. Just pull the shins in, just give yourself a little squeeze. Float the head, so the head lifting should be getting a little bit easier with each one. Slowly down through the head. Take the feet down, 1 and 2. I'm sticking to my plan of what I was going to do. Feet hip space, nice level pelvis, hollow in the back. So we've already woken up the powerhouse. So pelvic floor, belly button to the back of the ribs, just the knee float. Your femur, your leg bone wants to be vertical to the ceiling. Your shin bone is horizontal, parallel with the floor. That's called knee fold position. And then tighten your abs as you lower the foot to the floor. The foot should land in the place that it lifted from. So you don't lower the leg and extend the leg. It just comes straight back down. You're hinging at the hip. So pulling up through the pelvic floor, imprint the belly button to the back of the ribs. You float into knee fold. You tighten your powerhouse. You hinge at the hip. You come back down. So once you've figured out that, you're going to float the right knee, float the left knee, bring your big toes together, tighten your powerhouse, right foot down, left foot down. These basic exercises are really good no matter what level you are in Pilates, and they're really good when you've got a bad back. So they're really safe because they are specifically designed to not take your spine out of neutral spine. Neutral pelvis, so you'd never compromise the back, but you're working really hard. Right foot down, left foot down. So now maybe lead with the left leg. We've all got a favourite side. We don't want to encourage having a favourite side. We want to be fairly equal. Left foot down, right foot down. Just as an extra challenge, just maybe float the arms off the floor. When you're lifting your legs, you're using your elbows on the mat. So if you float your arms, right knee lifting, a little bit more powerhouse, left knee lifting, that was definitely harder. Right foot down, left foot down. So I was using my elbows, I didn't even realize it. So when you take the elbows away, you notice left leg lifting, right leg lifting, big toes together. You notice it's a little bit harder. It's only slightly, but you can feel it. So now, float the right knee. If that's too much, if you've got a bad back and your back doesn't like the arms off the floor, you come back to elbows on the floor, hold the pelvis. So now we're in table position. How about just a toe tap and come back up? Left foot
tapping. So you're really working the hinge of the hip. Right foot down, come back up, left foot down, come back up, right foot. Really simple moves, but very effective. Left foot, come back up, and then just hug your shins and just give yourself a little squeeze. Bring your head into your knees. So you're pulling your shins toward your ribs to get that mid-back stretching. Pull the belly up under the ribs and breathe into the back of the rib cage. So you feel like the movement's in the back of the body, not into the belly, and then gently down with the head. So if your back is really bad and you want to have one foot on the floor, you can. You're going to come back into your tabletop position, just hollowing the small of the back. And if you need to put one foot down, that's fine. And you're just going to do an eccentric contraction of your abs and your psoas. So you're going to breathe in and extend and turn out. And breathe out and come back into toes touching. So you're breathing in, extend and turn out. High position, breathing out. So as you breathe in, you're going to really stretch the muscles at the front of the spine, and your back might be sore because they're tight. Breathing in, so if you're sitting for a long time, if you're leaning forward over your desk, your psoas can shorten and tighten. So see how your back feels now. With breathing in, extend, turn out, and lower to the floor. You'll feel a little bit of tension in the hip on that right side. And then come back in. So where the tension is where your psoas attaches to the leg. So again, breathe in, extend, turn out. Still breathing in as you lower, so you're using the in-breath to stretch your psoas, and then breathe out and use your powerhouse to come back in. So you're breathing in, extend, turn out, and lower. You'll feel that tension in the front of the pelvis. Breathing out, tighten your corset to come back in. Breathing in, extend, turn out. You breathe in all the way to the floor, you tighten your powerhouse, you breathe out, you come back in. How about, as you breathe in, extend, float both arms overhead and see if you can just get a little bit more work. So what this does is it opens the space between the ribs and the pelvis to stretch your psoas even more, and then breathe out and bring everything back. So you're breathing in, extend, turn out, arms overhead, belly button to spine. Breathing out, if that's too hard, if your back doesn't like it, don't do the arms. So one more each. Breathing in, extend, turn out, arms overhead. Breathing out, return. Last one. Breathing in, extend, turn out, and open arms. Breathing out. So arms are heavy. You can feel that work your upper abs a bit as well. Just pull your shins in and just give yourself a little bit of a squeeze again. Bring your head into your knees. Just see how that feels. Slowly, gently down with the head. Take the feet down one at a time. So a really lovely sequence is the bridge with the mat breathing. If your back is really tight, you're going to use the breath to really stretch the muscles of the spine. So put your hands in the gap between the ribs and the pelvis. You're going to breathe into your belly, which means you just breathe in so deeply that you feel the diaphragm pushing what's below outwards. So you never push out with your muscles, you're expanding with the breath. And as you breathe into the belly like that, you feel your spine arching away from the floor. So I just got my shoulder blades and my sit bones on the mat. You can't see with my top, but everything else is arching away. As you breathe out, you're going to draw your sit bones together, tuck your tailbone under. You keep breathing out, breathing out, breathing out. That's going to bring your abdominal muscles into contraction. So you contract your abs just with the breath, and you're in a pelvic tuck. So we do that again. You breathe in deeply so that the belly fills the hands, the spine arches away from the floor until you're just on your shoulder blades and your sit bones. So you're getting a lovely hyperextension of your spine. And then as you breathe out, draw the sit bones together, tuck the tailbone under, keep breathing out until your belly contracts, even pulls up under the ribs as the diaphragm is lifting up. So again, breathing into the belly. Take the biggest, deepest breath that you can. Feel that lovely stretch in your spine, extension. As you breathe out, draw the sit bones together. This time, keep breathing out, but use that pelvic tuck to lift up into a bridge. Feel the stretch at the front of your pelvis. When you're ready, you're going to breathe in and you're going to arch even more. So you feel the tension at the front of your pelvis, the right amount of tension in your spine. Don't force it. As you breathe out, try and feel like you're drawing your sit bones together, you're tucking under, you're sitting towards your heels to get that really strong stretch on the descent. So we're doing it ultra slowly so that our back can accommodate this. So you're breathing into the belly, breathing into the hands, arch your spine. As you breathe out, you're tucking, sit bones together, tailbone tucking, flexing your spine, and you're using that pelvic tilt to lift into a neutral spine, a relaxed spine, and then you breathe in and you come into a hyperextended spine. Just make sure it feels good at the pelvis, it feels good in the spine. As you breathe out, you're drawing your sit bones together, you're tucking your tailbone under, you're sitting towards your heels. If you've got tender areas in your spine, just work through them slowly. I've got one spot that's a little bit uncomfortable today. So bring your feet not quite together and not apart, so just slightly apart. If that's too hard, bring your feet together. So we're going to breathe into the belly. Breathe out, tuck and lift. So we're using that movement a little bit faster now. Hold your pelvis. You just squeeze the pelvis at the sides with your palms to steady your pelvis, and just see if you can lift your right heel with your toes on the floor. And then bring that heel down, lift your left heel. Bring the heel down, breathe in, come higher. Breathe out and roll down as if you're trying to sit into your heels. This is sequential. I'm going to add on, but if your back says, no, I don't like that, just do a very basic movement and don't do any of the add-ons. So you're breathing into the belly, arching, breathing out and tucking and flexing and lifting up into a neutral spine. So you don't come too high. Steady your pelvis with your hands. Find your powerhouse. Could you lift your right heel? Could you lift your right toes as well? Only do that if your pelvis doesn't move. Bring the feet down. See if you could fire up your powerhouse. Lift your left heel. Lift your left foot. Not much movement, but a lot of work. Foot down. Breathe in and come higher if it's comfortable. Breathe out and roll, sitting into your heels. One more add-on, or just stay with really simple. So one more time, breathe into the belly and arch. Breathe out and tilt and tuck and lift that flex spine. Steady your pelvis, fire up your powerhouse. Right heel lifting, right toes lifting, maybe right knee into knee fold. Place the foot down. Only do this if your pelvis stays in neutral, nice and still. Fire up your powerhouse, left heel, left foot, maybe left knee into knee fold. You feel the core working. You place the foot down, there's no movement in the pelvis. And then you're going to breathe in, come a little bit higher. You're stretching. You breathe out, you roll down, and you sit into your heels. When your bottom's down, just bring your right knee in. Bring your left knee in. So give your back a little bit of time to relax. Bring your head into your knees. Stretching. So while you're here, hold your right shin Extend your left leg down to the floor. Just lift your elbows, pull your belly button up under the ribs. Just stretch. Gently down through the head. When the head's down, bring the left knee in, hold the left shin, extend your right leg, float the head, float the elbows, pull the belly button to the back of the rib cage. Take a deep breath in and breathe out and slowly down. When the head's down, just come back to hugging both knees, just as an assessment. So if you've got a tight back, it's a really nice thing just to draw circles with your knees. So what this is a self-massage. You're massaging your mid-back muscles and a little bit into your glutes as well. So glute medius is getting a nice massage here. You could do a figure of 8. That's moving your spine a little bit as well. One of my favorites is keep the toes together, but take the knees wide. And then if you pull the knees toward the chest, if you were to flip that around, that's like being in a very deep squat. But you're lying down and your spine is being supported. So you're really giving your spine a good stretch without any real load on the back. Gently down. While we're here, slide the hands down the inside of the calves and use your elbows to push the inside of your knees or your inner thigh outwards and downwards. So we're just checking our adductors, our inner thighs, just to see if maybe they're a bit tight as well. So you take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, push the elbows down and maintain that new stretch. When you're ready, you take another deep breath in, and as you breathe out, you push down and away again and find a stronger stretch. Make sure it's comfortable. One last time, big deep breath in. As you breathe out, just press those elbows down and away and find another stronger stretch. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just relax. Allow the knees to come together and just give yourself a little bit of a stretch. Excuse me, coffee. So put the feet on the floor, and we're going to just roll over onto our fronts. So when you've been working your abs a lot, it's really lovely to start to do the opposite and really start to stretch the abs and let the back stretch as well. So a nice exercise is palm under forehead. And we're just going to be very grounded, very heavy in the pelvis, and just feel like we're putting the feet a little bit closer together, maybe too wide, that puts tension into the back. So closer the feet, the less tension in your back. So you're going to be heavy in the pelvis, bottom muscles active, and just float the right foot and stretch to the wall behind you. The more you learn to stretch, the more you can lift the entire leg off the floor without coming out of neutral spine, neutral pelvis. You don't want the front of the pelvis leaving the mat. That means your pelvis is no longer safe. And come back down. So just feel heavy in the pelvis, bottom muscles active, lift your left foot slightly off the floor, and then stretch to the wall behind you. And you might even be able to get your upper thighs off the floor without changing the hips, the pelvis, the spine. Come back down. So again, heavy in the pelvis, tight bottom, lift and stretch, right leg. You can see my leg is getting higher and higher as my muscles stretch at the front of the pelvis and come back down. So it's stretching out, tight hip flexors, pelvis heavy, bottom tight, left leg. You shouldn't feel any compression in your spine when you're doing this. Should feel good. Come back down. A little bit harder is both feet. Bring your feet together, heavy pelvis, tight bottom, and see if you could float both feet and stretch to the wall behind you. So this is harder because two legs are very heavy. And come back down. If that's too much for the back, go back to singles. So heavy pelvis, tight bottom, and just float both feet, stretch to the wall behind, and you'll feel your legs getting higher, and come back down. So it's a very safe exercise. It strengthens your lower back without taking you out of neutral spine. So again, heavy pelvis, tight bottom, lifting the feet, stretching to the wall behind you. Come back down. So one last time, it's all about the stretch. Heavy pelvis, tight bottom, lifting the feet slightly off the floor, and then stretching, 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 and come back down. And your back should feel still really relaxed. You can do a few pelvic tucks just to get rid of any tightness if there is tightness there. And I always find arms are harder than legs, and it's because they involve shoulder flexibility and also they work your upper abs. So you've got your nose just above the mat, you're heavy in the pelvis, you're still using your bottom muscles, and you're going to lift your right arm and you're going to stretch to the wall in front of you. So a lot of ab work, a lot of back work in that. So pelvis is heavy, you're going to tighten the bottom, lift your left arm, and then stretch. Come back down. Try that again. Heavy pelvis, glutes are active, lift and stretch. Come back down. Heavy pelvis, glutes are active, lift your left arm and stretch. Come back down. So keep the nose just above the mat, don't hike your head up because that means your neck is trying to do the work. Heavy pelvis, tight bottom, and just see if you can float both arms and stretch to the wall in front of you. So there's a lot of ab work in that. And come back down. So again, pelvis is heavy, bottom muscles active, float the hands, still looking at the mat. Stretch, 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 and come back down. So keep the pelvis cemented into the floor, glutes are active, right arm, left leg, and come back down. Left arm, right leg. Make sure your nose is pointing to the mat. You're not trying to use neck muscles. Right arm, left leg. Try and focus on the stretch, so the arm and the leg stretch away from each other. You should be feeling your abs. Right arm, left leg, stretch. Come back down. Left arm, right leg, stretch. Come back down. Really good ab work in that exercise. I want you to glide your elbows in towards your rib cage and just decide, where do I feel comfortable? So maybe you're out here, or maybe you've even come to where your elbows are under your shoulders. So anywhere between those two ranges is fine. I just want you to drop your chin towards your chest and stretch your neck. And then float your head and look forward. So cervical, thoracic spine working quite hard. You're dropping your chin. Float your head, looking forward. Drop the chin, one more. Looking forward. So as you look forward now, just feel very heavy in your pelvis. Your glutes, your bottom muscles are active. Just imagine you've got a book on your head and you're turning your head towards the right. So that is a salamander. So C1, C2. Come back into center. Keep the book level on the head and you're turning your head to the left. You can really feel those top two vertebrae getting quite a strong stretch, looking forward. So again, turning to the right. Looking forward. Turning to the left.
looking forward. Drop the chin. So bring the palms together, interlace the fingers. Just keep your pelvis on the floor. Bring your right leg up. Just a gentle kick, kick. Make sure there's no bounce in the pelvis. The pelvis doesn't leave the mat. Kick, kick. So if your pelvis is lifting up as you do that, don't lift your feet so high. And maybe lie, you could even lie flat. Kick, kick. So find, maybe you're lying flat to keep the pelvis under control. You're only in the Sphinx position if your pelvis stays cemented into the mat. So this is front body stretching, abs and thighs, quads, hip flexors. Kick, kick. And you're strengthening the back body. So back muscles are working, glutes, hamstrings. Kick, kick. So it's quite a good exercise. It does lots of different things. Kick, kick. So if you know what you're doing, you're not looking at the camera, you're looking forward. Keep your neck in a nice neutral position. One more time. Kick, kick. Last time. Kick, kick. Bring the leg down. And then just slide your elbows forward. So we're going to take the feet as wide as the mat, the hands to the edge of the mat, long neck, long spine, long legs, and just pressing up to wherever you feel comfortable. You could be looking down if your neck doesn't want to be stretched, or you could be looking forward, or you could be looking up at the ceiling, tongue into the roof of the mouth, and just drop your weight into your pelvis. Feel like your shoulder blades are heavy. Take the fullest, widest breath that you can, until you feel your abs stretch with the breath. So that's your diaphragm. And then as you exhale, release the tongue, bring the chin to the bones of your neck, and you're rolling down bone by bone. So we do that again. Long neck, long spine, long legs, coming up to wherever you feel comfortable. Drop your weight into your pelvis. Heavy shoulder blades, tongue into the roof of the mouth. Just take that 360-degree breath. Feel that lovely stretch through your abs. And then as you exhale, the abs need to be stretched as well as strengthened. Bring the chin into the neck. Roll down through the pelvis, through the spine. We'll do one more. So if you've got a sore back, this is always the #1 exercise to do. Either the Sphinx or the Cobra, or both. You're just bringing your spine out of flexion and just extending it. So take that 360-degree breath. And exhale, chin to neck, rolling down bone by bone by bone by bone. So bring your knees together, hands on the shoulders, push back into kneeling. So you have to come into a flexed spine just to completely finish that stretch. Take a breath. And then breathing out and coming back into knee. So we're going to grab our rollers. One of my favorite releases is to put the roller between the rib cage and the pelvis. So we're getting into our erector spinae and our quadratus lumborum. You want your elbow under your shoulder, not out here somewhere, tucked in towards the roller. Ankles and knees are together. Just find that lowest rib. You never roll onto that rib. It's just not strong enough. And you're going to put your hand across your chest, tuck your chin, and you're just gently rolling backwards, looking at the ceiling, and you're coming right up underneath that strong band of muscles that support your spine. And then you come forward again, but only sort of just facing forward. You don't roll into the roller. So it's all about the backwards roll. So if these muscles are painful and tight, they're going to really love the pressure of the roller. So make sure your chin's tucked. You're not letting your head hang back. That's not great for the neck. So you could just be doing that half roll, looking at the ceiling, looking forward, or you could roll to look at the ceiling, and then you could do a little bit of a scrub. So you're going forward and back. Feels delicious. You could do a little bit of a mash, which is a circle.
So just find what feels good. So it's fine to put the roller on the spine when you're coming up through all of the obliques and the spinal muscles, but you never put it under your spine when you're lying on your back. So the lumbar spine is not strong enough to carry the load of the legs when you're on a roller. So just gently come up, change sides. You might notice when you do this that one side is a little bit more unhappy than the other. Elbow under shoulder, ankles and knees are stacked. And for me, this side is the side that's unhappy. So I can feel that straight away. So you find out where your lowest rib is, your 12th rib, that little floating rib. And just make sure you don't roll onto that. Hand on the chest, chin is tucked. And you just do a forward, so you're looking at the camera, and then it's more about looking up at the ceiling. Oh. So for me, this side is really locked up and tight. Make sure your chin is tucked, it's retracted, so that your neck muscles are working to stabilize your neck as you move. You're not leaving your neck unsupported. So you could do the forward and backward scrub. You can make that a little bit more of a circle. So really the circle, I'm moving my torso, not so much the roller. I actually like the forward and back. So you've got a thick band of muscles that runs down either side of your spinal column, and we're coming up under the lateral border of those muscles. So that's where all their triggers are, or a lot of the triggers. And so you can really get in there. You're sort of pushing up against the processes of the spine, but you're not going to do them any harm. They're surrounded by thick muscle. They're very strong. They're not like the ribs are. So you can get in here. Okay, so just gently coming off of that now. So now, mid-thoracic. If your lumbar spine is tight, then your thoracic spine is going to react to that. So 2 positions under the shoulder blades for flexible people, or on the flat part of the shoulder blade, a little bit higher. If you know that you're not that flexible, then make it a much more, a smaller movement. So you're going to link your fingers, hands under your head. Interlace your fingers, bring your elbows forward so you've created a cage for your head and neck. Fire up your abs, so you're pulling belly button to the back of the rib cage. You breathe in as you look up at the ceiling. You're breathing out, contracting your abs. So as you breathe out deeply, your abs will contract, even if you don't try to contract them. You're breathing in, opening. Breathing out, contract, contract, contract. The more you deeply breathe out, the deeper the contraction in your abs. Don't pull with your hands, just feel like your head and neck are being supported. Breathing in. And maybe, depending on how flexible you are, breathe out, contract, contract, contract. Maybe you feel like you could even start to go a bit further. Breathing in. Only if it's comfortable, keep the chin slightly tucked. Breathing out, contract. So one more, breathing in. Breathing out, contract, contract, contract. Coming to that middle position, open your elbows out a little bit and just gently sway from right to left. So we're just massaging those middle upper back muscles, trapezius, latissimus dorsi. You could turn that into a sort of a figure of 8. It's nice upper ab work. You could do half turn and do a little bit of a scrub, sort of in those muscles around the sides of the shoulder blades, and these are your rotator cuff, some of the rotator cuff muscles, and then do a half turn the other way. Come back into center, and then just one more, just breathe in and open, and just see how much freer that feels. Breathe out and close. I think we're going to do one more because it felt so nice. Breathing in to open. Breathing out to close. So pick your hands forward, lifting your feet one at a time. Kick yourself forward, come into sitting. We're just going to finish with a mermaid, which is specifically a back exercise. So you're coming into your triangle, you've got your hands on the floor. You're going to breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. So find the opposition in the exercise. Drop the sit bone, breathe into the stretching side, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. One more. Breathing in, breathing out. While we're here, hand on the hip, just roll the hip forward and just see how that lumbosacral fascia is feeling. After we've done all these different things, we could add a bit of a spiral through the body and we could look behind just to see if the spine is okay to spiral. We won't add the arm reach today. Just do 4. One more. So come back into center, switch the legs over. Hands on the floor. So you breathe in, breathe out to center. Breathe in, breathe out to center. Find the opposition. Sit bone drops. Breathe into the stretching side of your rib cage, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. One more each, breathing in, breathing out. Last time, breathing in, breathing out. Put the hand on the pelvis at the hip, roll the hip forward, roll the hip back. Roll the hip forward. We're doing 4s, rolling back, rolling forward, rolling back, maybe adding a spiral. So 4 spirals, rolling and spiral. Just 60% of your range. You might still be tight and uncomfortable in the spine. So you're just trying to push, push, push a little bit into that extended range without moving into a range that is not safe. One more. Come back in. So just to finish now, we're going to do a cat stretch with the roller. Put the roller in front of you. Whenever you've got your hands on the roller, the thumbs go forward with the fingers. They're not hanging off the back of the roller. So the thumbs are with the fingers. That keeps it safe for the wrists. Have your knees together. You're going to breathe in into the belly. Feel the sit bones widen. You're going to breathe out and contract, contract, contract. Breathing in, you could look forward. Breathing out, tuck the tail, contract, contract, contract. Breathing in, looking forward. Breathing out, contract, contract. One more, breathing in. So this time as we breathe in, just look at the floor and just roll the roller forward and backwards and just gentle pressure of the forearms on the roller. Just feel the arms, the chest, the shoulders, even the glutes, getting a good stretch. And then breathe out, tuck the tailbone under, contract, feel the stretch in your back. We'll do that one more time. Breathing in, look at the floor, forward and back. Gentle pressure on the roller. Breathing out, tuck the tailbone, contract, contract, contract. And then just coming into a relaxed kneeling position and you've finished. Well done. So hopefully your backs are feeling a little bit better after doing that.